It can seem like every self-help guru, hashtag couples goals, and high value this or that channel are not only telling us who we are, but who we should be, simply creating noise and confusion instead of allowing us to learn and define who we are for ourselves. I'm Donna Polk, a creative, driven, curious career woman, mother, co-parent, survivor, and so much more. I know I've been through some things, and if you're here, chances are you have too. If you enjoy intimate, down-to-earth storytelling, self-exploration paired with authenticity and humor, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Real Relatable. Hello, and welcome to the unanticipated, well overdue next episode of Real Relatable. I'm your host, Donna Polk, who has been on a much needed hiatus for this podcast. But if you've been around for a bit or long enough, now we know with my co-host Jonathan is still going strong. I just want to take a brief moment to introduce you all to not one, but two guests to the podcast, Amanda and Laura, who will help me sort of shake off the dust of vulnerability and dive into this next topic. Before we get started, Amanda, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what sparked this idea and more about what we'll be getting into today.
Yeah, so I'm Amanda. I'm a single mom of four and just new into the dating world after a 15-year marriage. So brand new into the dating world. And I found that the struggles that I found in dating as I'm talking to different women, it just sounded like it was a different version of the same story told over and over again. And so it just sparked this idea to, I don't know, talk with other women and share our experiences to just show that we're not alone. And even in like our desperation and the things that we may have done in these relationships, we're not alone in that either. And so that kind of sparked this idea to do this today.
Awesome. And then Laura, I know you weren't part of the birth of the concept, but I kind of looped you in to get your perspective as well, because Laura and I have spent a good amount of time over, I'd say, the last year and a half or so, getting to know each other better and sharing stories along the same topic. And so I thought it'd be fun to have Laura on because I know a little bit about her story. But Laura, why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Yes, I'm Laura, and I am just along for the ride. Honestly, I think it's interesting to hear different perspectives on dating and different experiences. And yeah, so I'm just here, and I think we can all get, some good feedback from each other and just enjoy the conversation surrounding the topic.
And as Amanda mentioned, she has 4 kiddos out of a recent, sounds like pretty recent divorce. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that bit too, so we have context?
Yeah, the divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't, not to go into too much detail, but it wasn't like a great marriage. It wasn't a great situation. And so the kids and I kind of got pushed out of our home. And so we just ventured on our own. And so and that was nearly 2 years ago. So I guess I kind of went from this marriage where I was taken care of, where I always like had the person, to basically for the first time ever, like having to be on my own and take care of myself. And I was just telling a friend that like, even with the dating, I feel like a teenager, like I'm learning like, oh, this is not healthy or this is healthy. And like, sometimes it's like, oh, it's like I do feel like a teenager, like, oh, does he like me? Or is this like playing hard to get type of thing? So, I feel like it's very much new ground for me.
Yeah. Because you were married for 15 years, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got my marriage wasn't quite as long, but it is something where you get out and it's like Rumspringer, like, okay, I'm out, I'm free. Like, what do I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? And you're really just trying to like find your bearings. And I think that, and we'll get into a bit of this too, but I think a lot of the sort of patterns that we have are just associated with what happened in our childhood and what we're basically gearing or sort of gravitated towards and what's sort of comfortable, although it's not healthy. And so maybe that's part of your experience as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And Laura, why don't you share a little bit too about your maybe any like more significant relationship in your life?
Yeah, well, I was actually also married very briefly to my son's dad. So that was pretty traumatic relationship just from start to finish. And he's still, in and out of our lives being his dad. So that definitely paved the path of my dating experiences. I think what I kind of go for and how I go about it. But the good news is that now it's like completely different. I've grown so much, and I'm not saying I do it perfectly by any means, and I'm still learning a lot and a lot about myself. And I don't date too much, but when I do, yeah, it's completely different than what it was before. So mostly been single, and then of course had a couple significant relationships because that was like 15, 16 years ago, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, been cheated on, so that also plays a big part into the dating experiences and stuff like that. Dated an older man when I first moved here, and I feel like that was kind of like, significant in its own way, but not a good thing at all. So it had its good and its bad, but ultimately not not
Yeah.
good. And now I'm just kind of still figuring it out.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure it out. I know that
Yeah, for
I
sure.
am, unfortunately or fortunately, I have shared a lot, especially on this podcast or just like on social media about my experiences and my shenanigans that I've gotten myself into. And sometimes like if I sit and reflect, I'm like, okay, I think this was a sign, not just about all their red flags, but something that happened that probably like I think it's my ancestors saying, girl, this is not it. So, for example, and I'll just go to like some relationships that I've had since my divorce, but like one that was awful. We were like having a fire, like a little bonfire, whatever. And we're gonna roast some marshmallows, and one of the ashes like actually popped out and scathed me like on my back, and I had this whole wound, and then that one blew up in flames. And then after that, I was seeing this guy and I broke one of my toes. And then I was seeing this other guy, and that ended awfully. And then I was seeing this other guy sometime later. And at softball, like I pulled a muscle. And for me at this point, I'm just thinking, and like actually, my most recent relationship, about a year ago, I twisted my ankle really bad in softball. And so I'm just thinking this is like the other signs outside of their inherent red flags that the universe is telling me, girl, this is not safe on mental or physical fronts. So, what are some of the like signs maybe for you guys if you go way back to the beginning and maybe how you met this person or anything like that and what that connection was like and maybe some of the red flags that you might have overlooked?
I would say this person, like the person I'm thinking about right now, and like you, it's kind of like there were a few of them that I'm going to kind of mush together, but
Yeah.
like one in particular, I feel like, so I went through the traumatic divorce, and then right shortly after, my dad ended up in the hospital, and he was in and out of a coma, and then he passed away. And so before that, like before the part with my dad, this person I wasn't interested in, they were very like, I could just tell, like, I think at that time my mind was okay. And like, I could just tell like what their intentions were. But after the fact, um, he had invited me over. He had started calling me all the time. We talked nonstop. And to me, I think at that moment I needed that. And so I feel like that, look, in retrospect, hindsight, looking back, I'm like, okay, that was not really like that intimate, like, oh, we're meant to be together. It just was this void I needed filled. And that spiraled into a whole like dependency. Like I felt like I ended up being dependent on that. Um, and then just to say, like, I know we're talking about the beginning, but towards the end of it, my like kind of similar to what you were saying about like your ancestors giving you signs, like screaming at you. I would like the last bit that we hung out, and I don't mean this like in any kind of horrible way towards him, but like I would actually get like physically sick like when we were hanging out because like I think it was the anxiety of it, like knowing that
Yeah.
you just never know if he's going to disappear or what it was going to be. It was just like a roller coaster. I just never knew what this day was going to bring. And so I think my body was literally telling me like, girl, run.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting you bring that up because those initial signs or like even of your own behavior, right? And I'm saying this from someone who's been there before where you're literally texting all day. And it seems like there's like everybody has good intentions, probably more than
Mhm.
likely that everyone has good intentions. But then you realize that you are sort of creating this like that dependency, like you mentioned, or that like emotional connection that's really just fueled upon like, well, how often can I get in front of this person? Like if you see enough Hilera ads on Instagram, eventually you're going to purchase. And I think that that's what that's like. It's just staying in front of them and staying on their mind, and then that becomes your norm. Like of course, yes, we text every single day, we talk all the time, all of that, and that becomes that like that mental stuck, mental connection. But it's not connection, it's more of just that attachment of, well, this is my routine, like why would I not talk to this person? So then you get to the point of, well, okay, we're not talking, but that feels like a withdrawal almost, or like why aren't they
Yeah.
here? They should be right here
Yes.
with me. And that's what I think is so hard about those kind of breakups too, or those kind of, troubling times if you do even get back together, is because then all of a sudden you need them to sort of replenish the calmness, is because you're having that contact, when in reality that's not really how you're supposed to connect with someone.
No. Yeah. And I would say like that's not fair to them. Like that's putting so much on them as well. And so there's that to think about too.
Yeah.
I
What
can
about you,
relate
Laura?
to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. Like just feeling anxious, being apart. And I think I hadn't really ever paid attention to signs from like the universe per se. I think more or less now I'm starting to feel attention or to pay attention just in general of how they treat me and how I feel versus how I've always just kind of been more focused on them, not me. Like, what do they basically, without realizing, like, what version of myself do I need to be? Like, do they like I need to be a certain way, just to fit into their life without actually like realizing, wait, do they fit into my life? Like, how do they fit into my life? And then just like some basic signs, I would always seemingly go for men that would give me like not even the bare minimum, or like they would, but it was just them not even caring, it's like I was chasing them and they would give me the attention and then they just like didn't actually show much interest at all, or like I would deal with so much just bad behavior, like emotional abuse
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So I don't know why I would just kind of let things happen. So obviously I had to do a lot of work on myself and know my worth and my value and what I bring to the table, and like not accept those behaviors. So I wouldn't really say signs, but like now I do start paying attention to signs, just kind of like see, letting go of the control, and just letting them show me who they are, what choices they make. Then kind of go off of that instead of trying to like change or control the situation. Like, this is who they are, they're showing you. Then how do I react to that instead of trying to like make something happen a certain way that I want it to be,
Yeah.
Right.
just letting it be. And then I don't have to stay in those situations if I don't want to, or It's still really hard though. It's not like I'm over here just, doing it perfectly all the time. Like the last couple of guys that I've dated, I've definitely been like, oh my God, what did I think when that happened, or like, what was I thinking? And it's just like learning process. So I'm learning a lot for sure. That's a
I'm
good thing.
kind of curious too, Laura, just because you had said you also were in a traumatic marriage. And I feel like in my situation, I had to have people literally tell me, hey, this is emotional abuse. Like what he's doing is
Mm.
emotional abuse. And I feel like I kind of wonder if the reason I haven't caught on to that and I still like am okay with that sometimes is because I can kind of in my mind be like, well, maybe, but it's not as bad as this was.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just am curious if maybe you can relate to that thought process, maybe when you were first starting out or.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, for sure, just because you don't realize what's happening, you're just kind of conditioned, at least for me, I feel like I was just kind of conditioned to those types of behaviors. So it wouldn't necessarily translate in my mind like, oh, this is not okay. This is emotional abuse, or this is like manipulation or gaslighting or love bombing, all those things that like now people talk about. So there's just like so many more
Mhm.
ways and people talking about those things now. So I think it's easier to kind of spot them, but it really takes so much work and self-awareness and like not feeling shame if you do go through those experiences and you don't realize it till later, like, oh, what the heck was that? Like, at least if you're coming out of it knowing what it was, and then the next time you're actually going to find it easier to um see what it is for what it is when it happens again.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I can relate for sure.
I think a lot of this goes back to our childhood as well. And I kind of have learned that the hard way, the scenic route, if you will,
Me
from
too.
going to therapy and getting to just, connect with my therapist over the last 5.5 years or so. And so she's really gotten to like dig deeper with me and help have me just self-reflect and really just connect the dots of my upbringing to my dating experiences now. And so maybe some of that like father childhood wound and looking for the acceptance and the support and the validation that maybe I was missing to a degree with my dad or even in some ways my mom, and how that sort of manifests itself in the partners that we choose. So just like I was mentioning, the it's like it's comfort because like you think that's what it's supposed to be, but in reality like toxicity and trauma is not a normal state of being, right? Nobody should live that way. And so I know I've talked to Laura about this, especially more recently when my emotions were a little heightened, considering the time of the month, and I've gained a lot of self-awareness around like when my period is going to start. Like if I'm upset about the commercial about the puppies and how they're connecting with their owners and it's so beautiful and I'm crying about it, it's because my period is going to be starting in the next like 3 to 5 days. And so the other day we were talking about just this uh, situation, not a situationship, not a relationship, not even really dating, and just the situation that I found myself in the last for probably like a year, roughly, sort of on and off, and the frustrations that I was having with this person. And realistically, we both want different things, but we also like each other to some degree and are attracted to each other. And for me to just like come to terms of, sure, we're attracted to each other, but our attraction doesn't necessarily mean that we're compatible. Like that chemistry doesn't mean compatibility, like, things like that. And learning about a new prospect, I guess, or new person that they're with. And that makes no sense to me. Maybe they're happy, but just the leading up to that information and not being able to like have a direct conversation with them about anything, and really just like not getting maybe some of that validation or some of the time or effort that I really could have used if they were really interested in me. Anyway, so for me, like, there's shame in why would I be interested in this person anyway? Like, again, that compatibility piece, like, this kind of communication style does not work for me. It doesn't work for me where you never want to talk to me unless I'm like in front of your face. And if I'm only in front of your face in particular instances, and that's when we get to connect, like, that's not okay, right? And dealing with the feelings that came up for me when we weren't physically together, like I had mentioned before on my Instagram stories recently, like, my nervous system was out of whack. My nervous system was like just like inside, like it just was so activated. And back to what you mentioned, Laura, just kind of like, what version did you need to present to these people? And I wasn't necessarily there, but I was like, what version of myself do I like? And I don't like that version of myself when my nervous system is heightened, or I'm not feeling or acting the way that I know I normally do. And at the end of the day, like, that's what happens with this person, is that I don't feel like myself when we're not together, and that's fucking weird. So
Mhm.
for me,
Yeah.
that's the universal sign, and thank goodness, knock on wood, I haven't, like, you know, pulled another muscle or broken anything. um but I know
The
that, and I
universe is just like making you fall apart.
yes, exactly, like, it's just more
So
internally
you
that I'm,
understand. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that's enough for me, and that's why I have really, like,
Yeah.
limited my interactions with this person, so that I didn't get too close in proximity, or I didn't get my feelings hurt more than they were, because my feelings were certainly
Yeah.
hurt to a degree. They're still hurt, and just from the situation. And I'm trying to be vague, but it just, I already knew that from the get-go, but I still entertained it to a degree, withholding a lot of my boundaries that are, like, especially sexually, like, that's not a place that I wanted to go. Whereas I know if I let him, he'd be all about it, right? And I don't
Yeah.
want that for me. I want to have, my relationship and everything, if I'm going to, like, connect with someone in that way. So those are some of the, I guess, instances, or one instance anyway for me, where, like, I just didn't like myself, um, and what
Yeah.
was going on internally for me with that.
Well, it's so hard to walk away from something like that where, like, yes, there's that connection and chemistry in so many ways that you almost, you start making excuses for them, kind of, or like ignoring the things that are not okay, or like you just know it's not right. Like
Yeah.
you said, communication styles or whatever it is. But you're like, no, but we'd be so good together for this reason, justifying all the things, and like it's so hard to walk away from something like that. And obviously, you know that I'm kind of in the same boat, but like a little different, but still, I just me knowing me putting myself in that situation, but then I'm like, well, now I have to deal with the consequences of my
Yeah.
own actions. But like just being so aware of it, I think is just a great um, step in the right direction, obviously, because I think I have gotten quite a few positive um, things that have come out of my last couple, relationships that have been very short, but like my self-awareness has gotten so much better. And like when I'm the problem too, especially because I'm not always like thinking it's the guy's fault for anything that happens wrong, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not, but it's like, okay, what do I need to do better as well? And then you'll obviously attract better people that way. The more self-aware you are, the less bullshit you take and stuff like that. And like Amanda, since you're so new into it, um, I'm actually curious to hear what you have been doing to like date and meet people and stuff like that.
I know. Can we say this? There was somebody at dancing Friday night. I
Yeah.
don't know if
A
we can
very
edit this
new
out if you
face.
want, but I'm curious.
I mean, I don't care. You can put it
Who's
out
this
there. I don't even know if he
gentleman?
It's
sees it.
someone.
Yes, he was very tall, dark, and handsome. And I don't know. But I found out we talked a lot, and I don't know. I got a little Twitter pated, but he doesn't live here. He lives in California. And so that was a bummer to find
Mm.
out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like dance was initially like I was meeting people, but I've learned it is not a
Yeah.
good idea because I'm so heavily involved in dance. Like it is not a good idea. I've learned that the hard way, the heartbreakingly hard way, that it is not a good idea to get involved with anyone there. So that's no longer a thing. I've tried the dating apps, but that doesn't work for me. I prefer to meet someone organically, only because for me personally, I just get super anxious about it. Like talking, like just meeting someone on there and then having to meet them in real life is, for some weird reason, causes me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just trying to like get out there. I had someone come up to me at Barnes and Noble once, and we kind of talked and got to know each other. And yeah,
That's
just then
cool.
just trying to like take myself on a dates and
Yeah.
see what happens. Yeah,
That's really good. Yeah. That's
I'd love to
awesome.
hear your guys'. Yeah,
Well, I don't do dating apps either. So the people that I've dated, unfortunately, have been in the dance community too, the most recent ones. And so I also learned the hard way. I'm still like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I need to stop. But it's just so hard because it's not like I'm like going from guy to guy to guy. Like most of them I don't even like that way. I'm not interested in them that way. But like a connection will happen once in a while, and it's not from someone that I've known for the past 4 years. So it's just random, and I'm like, all right, let's just see what happens. And it's never really the best experience. Like it is at first, but then it's not. But it's hard for me to meet people too, because it's not like I go out that much, or I don't stray away from my regular routine. Like on Fridays, I go dancing, and then I'm too tired a lot of the time to do other things. And if I do other things, it's like revolved around my kid too. So it's
yeah,
like I have to find this balance as a sole parent, because I don't have shared custody or anything. I don't know if you do, but Amanda, but it's like he's at an age where he's like independent, but very not at the same time. He still doesn't drive. I drive him everywhere. I'm like, okay, what's the plan? What's the deal? So it's just like exhausting, honestly. But yeah, I'm off the dating apps. I haven't even tried it. I just know that it's not for me. It just like so much time spent. It seems like it takes way too much energy to have these like conversations that basically will go nowhere. It feels like the men out there aren't like the best. I feel like I'm not missing out necessarily. So that's why I'm like, I'm good. I'd rather just wait. And when the time comes, if it's not my time right now, that's fine. But it's still fun to kind of, try. If I meet someone that's like, okay, I feel like you have good intentions, so give it a try here and there. But yeah, to actually like put myself out there, it gives me anxiety. I'm I don't know, I feel weird just being like, hey, date me. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't see other people doing it that way. That's just how it feels for me if I
Yeah.
were to do it. So
Don't worry, I'm not taking
right.
it personally, as clearly
okay,
the only
good.
person who's on dating apps here. And I've been on them, I've been off them, I've been
Yeah,
like back and forth on it. There's no right recipe because I'm still very single. However,
Yeah.
I do understand. While this is my first time venturing into a complete visual medium, there is an entire archive of podcast episodes over the last several years. Search Real Relatable wherever you stream your podcasts. Come back here and let me know what you learned, maybe what takeaways that you had, and really just start the conversation. I want to have a dialogue, not just with myself or with guests, but engaging conversations with you, the listeners. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you. When you like want to meet someone organically, and one of the guys in this case, I pulled my quad muscle, and I actually met him in person and with a mutual hobby, we were playing tennis. And so I was like, wow, I met someone organically, you know, and you think that means something. Like to me, I think it means something
Yeah.
because a lot of times, you know, on the apps, you're trying to figure out what do we have in common? Like, do we have anything in common? Would I have met you in the real world, or would this have just been because we both happen to be swiping on the apps?
Mhm.
And then you wonder, like, okay, now I meet this person, what can we do together that we will both actually like, that does not necessarily involve just going out to dinner or going to a bar or grabbing coffee or something. Like, would we like to go on a hike together, or maybe they would be interested in Latin dancing, or maybe they will play tennis or with me, or maybe they will play softball, or you know, like what are those hobbies that we can have in common that we can actually connect with, and not just like, wow, we both liked each other on Hinge. Like, clearly this is my, that means nothing. Like, you still have to figure that out, you know? But when you're in person, it's like, oh, okay, this is so nice. Like, you meet this guy at Barnes and Noble, you both are clearly into books, right? And ideally, you know, maybe you're both in the sci-fi section, or maybe you're both in the, you know, the novels or whatever, but at least you have that initial similarity to say, wow, okay, like this is kind of fun. But then
Mhm.
if we heighten it too much, and kind of to your point, Laura, earlier, just about like sort of controlling the narrative, or almost like creating a story that you're trying to see fulfilled, but
Yeah.
it's actually not supposed to be fulfilled. And that's, I think, what gets difficult, whether you meet someone organically in person or if you meet them on an app. It's just being able to like control your expectations, and you know, really just kind of stay in tune with yourself. I think that's kind of been our sort of mantra here, is like, how are we feeling, what's coming up for us? And the more that we do that, then the better we get at discernment. So you still might slip up. I know I've slipped up here and there. And, you know, when you're when you've got like rose colored glasses on, every flag is just a flag. Like, it can be red as red, or green or yellow, or maybe a little bit beige, but all the flags are flags until you take them off, and those like heightened emotions of like, ooh, someone new, like what are they like, or are we going to be able to, you know, go to the finish line of whatever it is that you really want, if you want to get married again, or just get in a relationship, or have more kids, or whatever. Like, I think we sort of put that story onto that person to qualify them or disqualify them. But at first, everything's exciting if like the little bit matches up, because we both met each other at like Barnes and Noble, you know, or we're
Yeah.
both, you know, shopping for zucchinis at Fred Meyer. Obviously, we're soulmates.
So
Of course.
to that, I'm curious too. Um, do you find that you guys are romantics? Because like you said, the grocery shopping thing, and I think in my mind sometimes I do imagine like us both reaching for the orange and our hands grazing, and I wonder if sometimes that can be like a driving force as to why I'll like allow myself to like just throw myself into a relationship with someone who might be breadcrumbing me instead of giving me the whole loaf, or love bombing me and all of that. And I just would like, I just melt over it. So I'm curious for your guys' opinions on that.
I don't know that that's romanticism. I think that's just going back to like, I'll just say it. I mean, my dad and I, we have a great relationship now, and it's certainly evolved. Granted, it's different because I'm an adult, but just, you know, getting what you need from your caregivers is what that comes to for me. So if maybe we did get some time spent with us, but not a lot of time, or maybe there was love and affection, but not a lot of love and affection, and then you have to like do certain things, and then, you know, the validation, and if, okay, well, if I do this, then I get more, you know, showing of love for my dad, or showing of love for my mom, and stuff like that. So I think that sort of romanticized, like, I'm gonna give it my all because we both, like you said, went for that orange, and then you're like, oh, like take me, and it's like, well, hold on, like, you know, the orange, it's great and everything, but like, see the person, right? And not just
Right.
the sort of the dream or the story of what you're telling yourself that'll be like the best meet cute ever, because we both were looking for an orange. Like, who does that at the grocery store, you know? But the reality of it is like, well, this person, you know, they're in their early 20s or whatever, and they don't want kids, and you have four. Does that make sense? Right? Like,
Right.
want this person in your life. Or, you know, other pieces that would just, you know, talk to maybe what they want, what they need, or compatibility, generally speaking.
I mean, I love a good cute, meet cute story, of course. I am a sucker for those things, honestly.
Yeah.
I love it. But in reality, it's changed so much for me because I feel like those are the exceptions, not the rule of how it
Hmm.
typically happens, and it's so
Yeah.
rare. And so I've had to shift my own mind of like being more realistic than like romantic in a sense. Like
Mhm.
I can have it, I guess, but realistically, it's probably not going to happen that way. It's not a fairy tale. We all grow up watching the stories of living, finding your prince and living happily ever after. And it's like, sounds amazing, but in reality, it's probably not going to be that way. And I just have to remind myself of that. And, also like unfortunately, now I have like low expectations, but like higher standards. So I'm just kind of like not really expecting the guys that I meet to necessarily sweep me off my feet because I don't think they really care to or know how to, or just, I don't know what the
They
deal is.
definitely don't
But
know.
Yeah.
no, I'm just like, what are you doing? But anyway, uh, you know, it's just it's just definitely changed. I think deep down, yes, I'm still like a romantic at heart, and like I love love, and I love weddings, and I love romantic stories and stuff like that. I would love for it to be in my case, but I just don't think, who knows? There's still time. But in my current situation, I'm just like, I don't know, not expecting that at all.
Mhm.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to see some examples of things that maybe we have excused or just glossed over for the rose-colored glasses, I guess, that we have on for someone. Like, what did you accept that if you were at a normal state and maybe not sort of fantasizing or romanticizing this person that you wouldn't have accepted?
I think I have accepted someone, like, I think the biggest thing for me that I accepted that I always go back on and have that sense of shame that you talked about, like, oh, why did I do that? Was a lot of disappearing, like a disappearing act. Like
Mm.
oh, I'm a little uncomfortable with my feelings, so I'm going to completely disappear for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, leaving me like. And then when they reemerge, what I should have been like, sorry, no, like that wasn't okay. I would always accept it and be like, okay, like you. I don't know. I've come up with excuses. Well, they've had this in their lifetime, and they've had
Mhm.
that, and this is why they do that. I've accepted someone actively pursuing me and then finding out that they were telling others that I was the one that was like so into them and they weren't into me. And it was a total opposite. And I still continued on with that for a while. Those are the two things that I think stand out the most that I'm like, oh, Amanda, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. When your gut is telling you like this is not right, but you still go
Yeah.
along with it. For me, I mean, there's been so many, just like, I don't know, just not being able to freely speak on my feelings, or I don't know, just not feeling safe, I guess, enough for me to be honest or authentic, um, which is crazy. Like, nobody should make you feel like your feelings don't matter, or not validate your feelings or stuff like that. And then, yeah, just like accepting no responses, and then like getting excited, when they do come back around, because you just kind of tell yourself like, oh well, at least they're doing this now, and that's so ridiculous. we really give them too much credit for nothing.
Well, I find too, and I mean, I guess like it just seems to me in the stories I've heard that were similar to mine, that those who will disappear when they come back so strong, and they're so good at the excuses as to why and how they've missed you and all the great things and the love bombing, and they just make you feel so good, and then I feel like it's like an addiction cycle.
It
Oh
is,
Like,
yeah,
yeah. It's that
yeah,
dopamine hit for
100%.
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and so when they come back, you're like, yes, and it feels so wonderful, and but then it's
Mhm.
just always followed by that painful, they're gone again.
Crash. Yeah.
Yeah. And like for me, it's like always been hard to express my feelings. So I guess that could mean a lot of things, right? But like I never felt like I'm just able to openly and safely express myself. And that's something that I really am having to work on. Definitely still working on it. It came up in the last relationship, I guess. I don't know what to call it at this point. But then just the reaction was so different on his part, and so it gave me hope that there are, good men out there. And like it's more of the things that I've excused from myself too that are coming up for me right now, because I've excused men on so many different types of behaviors with my rose colored glasses on, so for me though, it's like, what things have I worked on, or am I currently working on, that I've actually like actively, and what's the word I'm trying to think of, being more mindful of like, I need to step up and do this and like say how I feel and not be scared, you know. I don't know if that just completely went in a different direction. Sorry.
No, I get that. I
I was
think,
just having a lot of thoughts, and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know, there's just like all the lies, all the
yeah.
excuses that I've made. There's just a lot for sure. Being aware of my own things. Yeah, I don't know.
And like how
That's
that contributes to maybe the demise, because maybe had you
yeah,
said something earlier, maybe the outcome would have either
yes.
happened earlier or would have been different or something like
Hmm.
that. And I
Yeah.
can relate to that a little bit. I'm typically a vocal person. Like I don't necessarily not express myself. I don't really have a problem with that. If anything, sometimes I still feel like a problem even if I express myself, because I'll say, hey, like, this is what I'm feeling right now based upon the situation, or this is the way that it's making me feel. And then I guess talking about things that we like accept and don't accept. And then somehow their behavior becomes my problem. Like,
Yeah.
and I have to rectify them feeling bad because they made me feel bad. And like, how am I, what? Like, you can't just flip and reverse it right now. Like, you made me upset. I'm telling you, I am upset because of your actions. And now you're offended because I told you that I'm upset. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
that, it doesn't work that way. Like, we have to address one thing at a time. And just because I know a bit of the details, Laura, of what you're talking about, just, you being able to express yourself in those ways to this person was great, right? Like, and I know that's
Hmm.
growth
Yeah.
for you. And I know it's so validating to be like, hold on, okay, so like, you're not going to be upset about me expressing my feelings or treat me differently because I did express my feelings, and you receive that information and then your actions change because, like, to me that says that they cared about you enough to change
Hmm.
their behavior because they don't want to be part of making you feel that way. And I think
Hmm.
that's a
Yeah.
lot of what people would benefit from in general, is just being able to accept and receive feedback from someone that, that they say that they care about, or someone that they say that they value, and then change their behavior because they don't want to be that person to, you know cause harm or anything like that. Obviously there's a line here. We're not talking about someone weaponizing their feelings and, just trying to really control a situation in that way, but just in the healthy expression of what's going on. Like, those are good ways to be able to even connect with each other and like continue to build that
Mhm.
trust.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you definitely said it exactly the way I was trying to.
So, what were some of the things that you did to like rebuild your, or even maybe recognize your own self-worth and rebuild your sense of self?
I think for me, it just, it really started with really just knowing that I had to be alone and that it sucks, and like just being okay with that. But like then realizing like it's not the end of the world, and it's actually way better than being with the wrong person, and like just being happy and grateful for the way things are right now, and someday it's not going to be like this, right? And just not having these expectations of like what my life is supposed to be like, and just being building myself into the woman that, I want to be. There's so many aspects of that, that I've had to work on as a woman, as a mom, as a friend, um, as a daughter, like so many things that play into that. So just knowing what I bring to the table, and if someone doesn't see that or doesn't want it, that's definitely a problem and their loss.
Mm.
And just being okay being with myself and loving myself. I know I feel like everyone says that, but it's so true. Yeah. So that's really helped me. And, like I said before, it's not like I never accept less than or whatever. Like I know most of the time though, and I'm like, well, okay. But at least I know, and I'm not like trying to build false expectations in my head, or at least, trying my best not to. There's still times where I've done it, but yeah. So I don't know, just being a better version of myself and really working on that has
Mhm.
helped me,
Mm.
putting the energy into that, not putting the energy into someone's dusty ass son that doesn't want that doesn't give a crap about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you,
No, yeah,
Amanda?
I feel like the same, a lot, pretty similar to what Laura said, like working on my self-concept and also like seeking the help to find out why I am accepting less and why I don't feel worthy of more. And I've learned a lot about myself in that. Like we had talked about earlier, like having those 24-hour a day conversations with someone and learning that it's okay to be alone. Like I'm just as happy, I'm just as safe, and I'm just as loved alone, and that I am worthy of love and I am lovable. But like I
Yes.
also daily try to make a point, I've tried to be grateful for what I have, and then also like the things that I know I'm wounded in and I'm struggling in, like abandonment. Like I've been like, these are the ways that I'm not abandoned. And these are the people who haven't abandoned me. And also a huge component in it is I look at my girls and my boys and I'm like, I don't ever want to see them in relationships like this. And so I can't model that. But I mean, I'm far from like, I feel like I have a long way to go to get there to where I'm like 100% like, oh, shut the door on it and all of that. But these are the baby steps I'm taking to get there.
I don't know if you can ever get to 100% because
Yeah.
everything that you just said, like your self-worth or like worthy of love, feeling like you are worthy of it. I have struggled with that for so long, and it's like, why do I feel like I'm not worthy of it, or that the type of love that I feel is meant to be for other people but not for me? Like why? And I have gone to therapy and it's helped some, but then I kind of got out of it, and it definitely helps though. And yeah, I feel like I did get into part of the issues where, those wounds stem from and stuff like that, but there's definitely a lot more work that I could do for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I've spent so much time in therapy, and maybe I'll send you this worksheet that my therapist has sent me, but it's really getting to down to like your core beliefs, like and what your negative core beliefs are and the way that we might like self-sabotage. So if you are, not quite healed enough or not quite like moving in a way where you're having good discernment in who you want to get involved with, and you choose someone who is unavailable or you're not compatible, but you're still going for it, like, all of these things. And that's almost your self-fulfilling prophecy to say, well, see, exactly, like you involve yourself with them and then things end for whatever reason or another. And that's you setting yourself up in this position to say, well, this ended because I'm not meant to receive love, right? Or I'm not worthy of love. And not that you're doing it intentionally, but you might find yourself in those situations just to be like, well, I told you so, almost to yourself. And we're not really supposed to be operating from that place, right? So just kind of flipping the narrative of, no, I am worthy of love because I do love myself, and the ways that I show that I love myself are in these ways. And going to what your like positive core values are. Maybe it's your connections with your friends, and you connect with friends who love you back and you love them. And it's your family, you show your family love, they show you love, etc. Just like finding those positive ways that you get to connect with people, and reinforcing reinforcing the things that you really need for yourself. And then lastly, like not having the that validation from someone else. It's really like that validation from you. So if you're making better decisions about like who you're choosing in your life, it's saying, well, I'm not going to abandon myself in this moment because this is what this person wants, or this is the way that this person moves, and it doesn't really align with who I am and how I move. And we're not really going to mesh into each other's lives seamlessly. It's more so like you abandoning yourself to fulfill them or to fit into their life instead of fitting into each other's lives. And so that's like a lot of what I've maybe done more recently. And I'm not saying it's like perfect where you never get close to someone and you never get hurt in this process, but maybe the time that you spend with these people is less because once you start seeing those signs where they're not talking to you for 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks at a time, that first time you're like, enjoy the rest of your life, right? Without me in it. And
yeah.
maybe, for me, it's like expressing myself and expressing my feelings. If we do come up on a challenging time, how do they respond to that? If they respond positively, just like what you were mentioning, Laura, they're receptive to it. They're willing to engage in a way that is validating and change their behavior. That's perfect, right? Like you do this in a healthy way. But if they double down and they're getting defensive, and then all of a sudden it's your problem and you have to then sort of cater to their needs and their feelings, like that's not for me.
That's the
And
worst, honestly.
it is the worst. And I've shared a bit about this with my last relationship with Laura. And so Amanda, just to kind of catch you up, like I did my damnedest in this relationship. Like I was patient. I was surprised at myself even, because normally like I wouldn't have put up with anything of what was going on. Just kind of to the point of, everything starts off really nice and we're communicating well. And I'm thinking any challenge that we come up against, we are going to be able to talk through this. But then when we got in the most trivial of disagreements, and the rationale of this person just went out the window, and I'm like, hello, like, are you there? Like, do you still exist? Like, what happened to that person that I was falling in love with? And anyway, so fast forward to the end of it, it's because that person wasn't real. They weren't real. That wasn't who they really were. And so I walked away from that actually with a tremendous amount of peace, because I knew that I gave it my best effort. I knew that I had challenged myself in my patience and in my desire to like build a healthy relationship with someone, and take a lot of the tools and resources that I've learned over many years and various relationships and therapy, etc. And because I was able to come to that relationship with those with that approach. And even, I still faltered in some ways, and, I went to rectify it, and from the direction of my therapist. And so I can, maybe reword some of the ways that maybe I said things, even if I am expressing myself in terms of my feelings, like there are ways to do it better. Anyway, so I left that relationship knowing I put everything that I could have into it. And it only lasted like 5 or 6 months or so. But for me, I was just at so much peace thinking, okay, well, we had such challenges and we kept like coming up against them and really hitting a wall, because at the end of the day, that was the universe telling me, you're not supposed to be together. This was never supposed to work out. And thank God I didn't break another toe to learn that, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that was plenty for me. So yeah, I guess just, getting into practice, like we can talk about all of these things. We can talk about how do we do this or how we should do that. And when it really comes down to it, and this is a lot of, what I learned in that relationship, and even what that person now knows and is painfully aware of, because they had this whole come to Jesus revelation after I broke up with them, that
So he said,
yes. So he said, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
maybe he's putting it into practice now, but you can go to, therapy and do all the things and read the books and know the how to. But if you don't do the how to and you don't actually put into practice, it literally does not matter. So you
Yeah.
can have all the, all that knowledge, but not put it into your daily, you
Mhm.
know, how you act. And so
You
what?
can have that idea of the person that you think you want to be, that
Yeah.
you work towards being, but like just thinking about it isn't going to make it happen. You have
Right.
to actually do it. And then what I kind of wanted to say back to your question, allowing myself to be sad and just like be sad. That has been so helpful because I have always been like repressive of my own feelings and like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and never just allowing myself to be sad. It's okay. And even if you knew better, even if you know it's just not meant to be, but if you still have a connection with the person and they're a good person, and for whatever reason it just doesn't work out, there's still a level of caring for each other, and not working out hurts, so it's like allow yourself to mourn the person or the relationship or whatever, and then you can like move on after that,
It's
but as long as
that's
it doesn't like last forever.
right. And that's really
Yeah.
funny you say that because I was just thinking like the same thing that I'm working on as well is it's okay to sit in discomfort. It's okay not to be comfortable. Because like I feel like with me and the previous relationships, like when I feel sad, especially one specific one that I really like, I'm still like trying to figure it out. I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, I'm like, we had this great connection. Like, how did this happen? And it's like so hard for me to not like, okay, I feel sad. I need to do something about that sadness. So let me try to call him or something, it's
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
hard, but I'm
So
learning
hard.
that hey, like it's okay to sit in discomfort and like you said, be sad and mourn it and like Donna said, and just accept that like it just wasn't meant to be. It feels like it was, but
Hmm.
if it was, like I just don't feel like we would be feeling this heartache.
Right.
Mm.
And that if you don't let it go, ultimately, you're not allowing the space for like the better thing to come,
Yeah.
right? Because even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, and this is something I'm telling myself too, because I'm kind of in that spot. It's like this was not, but something else will. And I have to allow the space for it to come into my life.
Mm,
So the only way to do that is by letting this go.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, like I think maybe someone kind of maybe Donna, you skimmed this or said something about it too, is I feel like also one thing with me that I'm working on, and I don't know if you guys have any words of wisdom or experience, but when you see them with someone new or they're pursuing someone new, that feeling of like, okay, well, why not me? Like, why was I not worthy enough? And learning that it was never about us. Like,
Mm.
it's just
Yeah.
never about us and our worth, but there's still that little zing.
It's so hard. Yeah. It's so hard.
Yeah. I skimmed over it because it's not about even the person that they're seeing. Granted, I still don't think it makes sense. Like, anyway, this is a whole other conversation. I do have therapy tomorrow, and I will be letting my therapist know so I can work through what those feelings are. I don't believe it's jealousy. I think that, like, for me, if I will no longer see this person anymore because we were situationally close and we could see that chemistry in person, right? Like literally in person, have that banter, have, all of that. And then also part of it was that there were other people. You guys would be so good together. Oh my gosh, you should date so and so. And the person who said you should date so and so, they have no idea of our connection or history because I keep that pretty close vested. But the person who said, you guys would be together, this is someone who's very close to them. And so for me, there's a bit of that validation of like, okay, well, maybe I'm not just confusing this for something that is not actually there, or maybe he just needs time because he had just gotten out of a long relationship. Anyway, so because of the proximity of seeing this person ongoing, like I'm saying weekly, and sometimes it could probably be multiple times a week, and having that in-person sort of connection and that, that feeling, and then we, might hang out. And I mean, I'm not just going to keep it PG. It wasn't like there's no R-rated things. Well, like a little bit. I got some special favors that were not reciprocated, and I'm fine with that. But that's me upholding like my own boundaries there. I'm like, whatever, like if you want to do it, that's on you, but don't expect anything back, which I understand can feel like rejection, but he knew what it was.
Wow.
Yes. Anyway, he knew what it was. So anyway, so we'd have these like really nice, not even just moments, but just times together and like hanging out and like things feel natural. We've had conversations at length about just the situations of where I'm at in terms of what I want and what I need, and a bit of where he's at, but then we would still come together. So both of us are sort of abandoning ourselves in the fact of we're not on that same page, right? Like, why are we doing this? But it's because it did feel comfortable, right? And so fast forward to more recently, where I kind of abruptly was told about like this other person actually had approached me and just said something about this person and them spending time together and like cuddling and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. To my knowledge, I have never talked to her like about hell, I've barely even talked to her because I don't really know her. I just know her from, these situational instances and just hearing about like something that they were doing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess they're seeing each other now. Like, I don't really know, but I don't know because I haven't talked to him, because I wasn't reaching out to him. He wasn't reaching out to me. There was no continuous like sort of dialogue. But the, nail in the coffin months ago was that, I'd expressed, I'm like, hey, like, I know we've said this, but like, if we enjoy each other's company, like, why don't we can hang out? Like, you can reach out to me too, and we can do something. And I haven't heard from him in many, many months. And so then, more recently to come and find out about he's seeing this person, and I just was like kind of surprised by that, because to me, I don't see any compatibility. Like, I don't see, like, it does not make sense. But I think situationally, that person had gotten out of a recent divorce or recent marriage, I believe. And he similarly, so maybe that is their connection, and maybe there's whatever. I could assume all day, but that's really sort of inconsequential. The piece that's upsetting to me, or that was so upsetting to me, was that because we are in such close proximity and because I've known you for years, why is it so difficult for you to just reach out to me? We've shared some very intimate details about our experiences, about work, personally, da 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 da. And if we can do those things, how do I not hold enough value to you to simply just reach out and send me a text? Hey, did you get this other job? Hey, I saw you got your real estate license. That's awesome. Congratulations. Hey, how's this going? Hey, let's go grab coffee, or like, let's go grab a drink, or let's go play pool or something. You know what I'm saying? Just like,
because that requires work and like them putting in effort. And if someone's not ready for that or just doesn't want to, they're not going to.
Yeah.
So.
And I can understand that, but and again, if I didn't or don't or wouldn't see this person on a normal ongoing basis, I'd be like,
Right.
cool.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
fact that I see them and we have to work together, not work, but like we are, I'm so skirting around this, but we are in such close proximity, like, and I mean like directly with each other in a group setting, that to me, that should be ideally, that should be enough respect to me, like towards me to say, hey, you know what? Like, I really enjoy getting to spend time with you, but I'm not able to give you what you want. I know we want different things, and I would like to spend time with you, but I don't want to confuse anything. Or I think it'd be best if we just, went about our things to see you in certain areas. And so, um, so that would have been that would go so far with me, right? And then
Oh
it would
yeah.
be like, okay, cool, we can still see each other in this group setting and be okay. But now I just feel awkward. And I had recently shared on my Instagram stories. I think that's kind of part of what sparked this whole conversation too. But now that I see them and more recently see this other person that they're also with, and you know, and he wants to speak to me normally, like, see, check in what's going on and whatever. And I feel uncomfortable. And I feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable because I think that that shame is coming up for me and disappointment. Like, I just feel disappointed that I can't, like, how, like, I'm really not important enough for you to just say this. And that's not a reflection of me. Like, I know that I'm so very, 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 very clear that this is not a reflection of me. This is 100% a reflection of him and just his inability to communicate, which again, that goes back to the compatibility. We're not compatible if you can't communicate with me in a direct way, or if you're going to give me some fuckboy responses of saying, hey, reach out to me, and you say that you're busy. Like, I'm fucking busy, right?
Yeah.
I'm the director of sales of a hotel. I'm in real estate. I have a 7-year-old son. Like, I have so much responsibility, but like I make time for the
Yeah.
things that I really, want to. And so you just can't be honest with me, and maybe he can't be honest with himself at the end of the day.
And just accepting that is so hard, just in
Mhm.
general.
So all of this to say, what advice would you give to someone who might be stuck in a similar pattern or cycle and unhealthy behavior in relationships, and how they can get out of it?
I would say, based off of my experience, first of all, listen to the people who love you because they're witnessing it. And so if they're telling you that something's off, listen to them and accept that. And then also, maybe if you're not seeing it, but you hear that, like, think of someone you love being in the same exact situation or in that relationship. And then that you're worthy of love, and of the best love and the most romantic orange love, and don't accept anything less.
Love that.
Yeah, that's good. Well, on that note, I would say also listen to yourself. I mean, yes, it's good to listen to outside perspectives and stuff, but they don't really know everything that happens, right? But you do. And we ignore our guts so much. And then that's really listening to yourself and your own feelings and validating yourself, and like not accepting less than what you want because you deserve it. So the love that you want, you can get it, and you do deserve it, and it's going to happen. But it's not going to happen if you accept this right now because you're lonely, So really listen to yourself and just like you said, know that you're worthy, and know that you're worthy of the love that you want, for sure.
Yeah, I guess in conclusion, to not abandon yourself and give yourself the love that you want for you. And then, at the end of the day, you're going to be able to get that reciprocated because you're starting with loving yourself in the way that you need. So that'll help you attract the right person.
Mhm.
Thank you both for coming on to the podcast. And I think that this
Thank
is like
you.
a nice conversation, and I'm glad that we got to have this. And I appreciate you both.
Me too. Thank
Yes,
you.
me
We should do
too.
it again.
Yes,
Yes,
for
we
sure.
should do it again. We'll go into maybe some of the juicier details, and maybe I'll stop
Yes.
skirting around it if I
Yeah.
can figure that out, how to be more discreet.
All right.
All right, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
guys.